Hello, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. This week, I've been focusing on the marks of a Christian. How do we know if someone really is a Christian? There are a lot of people that give lip service to the Christian faith. Heavens, we're in a political season. Almost everyone claims to be a Christian during the political season, if they're running for office. But how do we know whether or not someone truly lives under the Lordship of Jesus? And what I mean by that is, Jesus is their Lord. He is their God. They are on the team. And so as we've talked about it this week, I've talked about looking for those marks of people who try to honor God by the way they live. Jesus had said, by their fruits you'll know them. Paul talked about the fruit of the Spirit that dwells inside us, where we grow in love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and gentleness and self-control. And we've talked about those for other people. But as I close out this week of Video Thoughts, I want to personalize it for you and me. How do I know that I'm a believer? How do I know that God has welcomed me into his family? You know, that's a tougher thing for some people, because some people just always feel inadequate. They don't feel like they measure up. And there's some people who are high on the worry meter, as I call it, and they worry that they're not good enough for God. And the neat thing about it is, John addressed this in his letter, 1 John as well, in the 3rd chapter, where he says, basically, there are some things that we need to know whenever our hearts condemn us. Whenever we think, I'm not adequate. And here it is. It's wrapped up in something very simple. God loves you, and God loves me. And as a result, his love transforms us. Now, we're not perfect. We're not yet what we will be. But the love of God is still dwelling within us richly. And when we give our life to him, we can be confident of that in our heads, even if our hearts seem emotionally detached. Remember, love is not, in this sense, a feeling. It's not a question of, do you feel love for God? Do you feel God loves you? Love is a decision that says, I am going to live my life oriented around this care and concern and service of another. And who loves you more than God, who came in Jesus and lived his life to love and to serve and to minister and to provide for you and me. And so John says, we love because he first loved us. And whenever our hearts condemn us, we just need to go back and stand and rely on the promise that God came in human form to love you and to love me, not with words, but with action. And he did that before you and I ever asked him to. Paul says it this way. He says, for while we were yet sinners, Christ came and died for us. He's saying, it's not like we went to God and said, hey, would you do this for me, please? He already did it. He already did it for everybody's sin. It's already paid for. The punishment's done. And that was out of love. That was an act of service that stemmed from his deliberate and conscious care for you and me. So if your heart condemns you, don't worry about it. God loves you. And you say that to your heart. And you verify to your heart he died for you. And we know we are Christians by his love, which stirs up in us a desire to serve and love him. And that's your video thought for the day.